Excuse me. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Mando. I'm your host, Armando Ortega. How's everybody doing today? If you guys are off of work, congratulations, you made it through the day. Now relax, maybe go to the gym. I know I am. I'm going to hit Muay Thai today. It's Monday. I don't know. What else can you do? Grocery shop. If you're barely starting your shift, I hope your shift is sweet. You know, it's going to go smoothly and everything. If you're working graveyard, get some rest. Get as much rest as you can. Your shift starts in a few hours. What you're hearing in the background is the soundtrack to The Witcher 3. It's an epic soundtrack. Oh my god. The game is fun. You know, the game is really fun. I enjoy it. I mean, they made the show in Netflix. You know, the Netflix series is a perfect example as to how huge the voice of the fans are when it comes down to things that they love. And studios actually delivering on it. You know what I mean? Like the Witcher series, perfect. I think this is one of the most recent examples. The most recent examples is Multiverse of Madness. Well, anyways, the Witcher 3 series, it's just, I haven't watched it yet, but I knew that as soon as they casted Henry Cavill to be Geralt of Rivia, it was just perfect, you know? And I remember this. I remember when fans were just making fan art of Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia, some great fan art. And people are like, oh my god, if they ever make a Witcher series live action, Henry Cavill has to be him. Henry Cavill has to be him. And I guess it just gained so much popularity, so much momentum, and it kept going. It just didn't die. People just were like, this is a perfect casting. And it was one of those things that people were just unanimous about, you know? People would just completely agree no matter who you asked. And guess what? Netflix delivered. Yeah, they screwed up with other stuff, but it doesn't matter. Henry Cavill, perfect casting, and I'm stoked for that. I might give it a chance. Actually, I've been holding off on it because other stuff pissed me off. Well, anyways, Multiverse of Madness. The whole reason John Krasinski was there as Mr. Fantastic was solely because fans one day were all like, hey, you know, would be a great Mr. Fantastic if he ever got brought into the MCU? John Krasinski. And the treatment they did with Henry Cavill, making fan art of him as Geralt of Rivia, is exactly what they did with John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. And this time they didn't even leave Mr. Fantastic clean shaven like he typically is in the comics. No, they used one of his faces from one of the movies he did, 34 Hours or something like that. And they decided to kind of do a mixture of that along with Captain America's body, but alter the suit to make it the Fantastic Four suit. And guess what? People loved it. People were on board with it and everything. And years down the road, after people being like, no, this needs to happen, John Krasinski is so perfect for Mr. Fantastic, they put him as Mr. Fantastic in the Multiverse of Madness. And it's like, I love it. It's if you listen to your fans, to the actual fans, not the one who's like, this needs to cater to me. But if you listen to the actual fans who are actual fans of anything, even before it became mainstream, you're going to get incredible results. Listen to fans when it came down to bringing the X-Men in some form to the MCU, and they got Patrick Stewart. Listen to the fans to bring John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. People loved it. You know, Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia, people loved it. I love this song. It's amazing. Kind of reminds me of Soul Calibur. We'll get to Soul Calibur later on. Maybe some other episode. Oh man, I keep forgetting to talk about Multiverse of Madness. You know what? Screw it. I'll just get into it real quick. I had other topics in mind, and you know, I have a full battery. We'll probably get into it, but first we got to do Multiverse of Madness because I've watched this. I didn't watch it until it was available on Disney Plus, and even at that, I probably waited like a few days, but I watched it, and you know, you can really see Sam Raimi's influence, direction, because it's just like things. Here's the thing: Sam Raimi historically has had a very good run at doing horror films. You know, with the jump scares, the suspense, the camera angles, the way things are done. And you can see that when he decided to take on, you know, the best Spider-Man version ever, you know, with Tobey Maguire, you can see it in there. Maybe you didn't see it when you were little or anything like that. Like, I didn't really notice it because it was all new to me. I was 8 when the first movie came out. How do you call it? But you were able to see it, especially if you rewatch it nowadays. The way things work, the way the camera moves, the way he pans out to do panoramic shots. There will never be another superhero film with the style of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. But you see there that there is times where things can be smooth, and all of a sudden, bam, kicks off. Something happens. Something incredible scary pops out. Like, there's a scene, like, in the first movie, after Peter's been bit, after he comes home from Oscorp and everything. Was it Oscorp? Yeah, right? From that field trip, and he doesn't feel well. He goes to his room. Guess what? He collapses. Has the blanket on him and everything. He's sweating. He's drained from color, and you see that huge bump of where he got bit on his hand. And next thing you know, he's going through hallucinations, this dream or anything, what could be described as such. And it's just supposed to represent that his mind is going everywhere. But points there shows you that, hey, that bite is changing his DNA, you know? We know that he's going to change once he comes to. But in the end, guess what happens? Boom, Green Goblin's face pops out of nowhere. It's like, where did that come from, you know? Oops. That was my bad. I actually changed it. So it's just like, where did that face come out, you know? Like, where did Green Goblin's face all of a sudden just get, you know, thrown out there, and he wakes up? It makes no sense. Nobody was expecting that. Then you have the other movies where Doc Ock's robotic arms just like shoot out of places when nothing was supposed to be happening. What about in the scene in Spider-Man 2 when Mary Jane, that hoe, was meeting up with Peter in the cafe because she wants to make sure if Peter loves her or not and everything like that. And at that point, my boy Peter, he didn't want to let her go, but he knew he had to. Well, at that point, Peter lost his spider sense. You know, he lost his powers. I'm Spider-Man no more is what he said, referencing the iconic scene. And it's just during a cafe. Nothing's happening. And she's like, kiss me. Prove it to me. Kiss me. And I'm like, girl, aren't you engaged? But all right. So that happens. Chill out. What happens all of a sudden next? Slow motion. Spider-Man, Spidey senses happen. And a car breaks through the entire cafe. What 1 second we're relaxing, watching this dramatic thing. Next thing you know, a car's being thrown through the building. It's like Sam Raimi's influence is there. And guess what? We saw it in the Multiverse of Madness. It's just the way he treated Scarlet Witch, in my opinion, I loved it. You know, because Scarlet Witch, I mean, in the comics, she's a mutant. I don't know if they changed it. I haven't really kept up with the comics lately because of, you know, agendas and stuff. But when I was reading the X-Men comics and everything, they were mutants. So this time it's just like hers was the result of, was it one of the stones that was a result of what gave her abilities and everything, her and her brothers? But it's just like Scarlet Witch in this movie, she's so much more in control of her powers. She's been studying the dark arts. She knows what to do, and it works for her. Not just about how she looks and her color tone, but it shows truly how far she can fall. And it's just amazing. Spoilers for those who haven't seen it, even though you should have seen. I mean, I didn't even see it at all in theaters. I waited even after a couple of days since it was on Disney Plus. So spoilers still, but you know, I should have watched it. When Patrick Stewart manages to go in her mind, you remember that scene? When Patrick Stewart manages to go into her mind, he's walking. He sees that there's a door, and he has to go through that door, and on the other side of that door there's rubble, and you see that, how do you call it, that Scarlet Witch, that it's not Earth 616. I don't care what they say in the movie. I don't care what the director says. It's not Earth 616 at all. That's ridiculous. Earth 616 is the comics. That's what it is. But not that embarrassment that he created. Well, anyways, when he sees the Scarlet Witch that's being controlled and everything, she's under the rubble, scared and frightened, not knowing what to do. And he goes in there trying to save her. All of a sudden, the red smoke gets closer and closer and closer until he's surrounded by it. And then she pops up out of nowhere and just snaps his neck inside of his mind. But she comes out with that scary face, sharp teeth, red eyes, just deformed. And it's like, whoa, what? That's a different Scarlet Witch. And that's not the first time he does that. That's not the first time Sam Raimi directs it to be that way. The other one when they're defending the temple, she's breaking in, trying to get America and everything like that. That's another one. Oh, she's coming through the puddles and everything. The reflections, I believe. I think it was just puddles though. So they're covering everything, every puddle, everything that reflects, they're covering it. But he misses one of them. And that's how she comes through. And she comes with her deformed, evil face. And it's just, I love it. I wish they continued going that direction. You know, I really do. And like, it's such a great fit. And even though it wasn't like, I heard some people were saying like, man, of Multiverse of Madness was so dark. No, it wasn't. Like, yeah, it became serious, more serious in tone than the other Marvel movies have come to, or at least attempted to do so. But it wasn't dark, you know? It was just serious. That was it. But it's just like, it shows how good Marvel movies can be when you don't focus on jokes. You don't focus on little quips here and there. You just don't make everybody just have a serious scene, a heartfelt scene, something that is supposed to be meaningful and serious and everything, and then just ruin it with a joke. And it's just like, it can survive being a serious movie all on its own. And people will still love it. And trust me, people will come back and watch it more. If you're afraid of numbers, if you're afraid of money, oh, will we break even? Trust me, you're Marvel Studios. You're gonna break even. It doesn't matter. But focus on telling a story rather than delivering jokes. My opinion. Jokes aren't bad, but if you feel like it's gonna take away from a moment or from what the movie is supposed to be like, you know, maybe don't focus on it so much. Focus on telling a story. Well, anyways, so that you can tell Sam Raimi's influence throughout the movie. I was able to tell it, and it was incredible. I wish he directs more. I love his style. Like, who would have thought horror and comics would have made a very good combination? You know what I mean? Who would have thought that? It's kind of like trying caramel corn and cheddar popcorn. If you guys haven't tried it, try it. You owe it to yourself. Just get a bag of caramel corn, a bag of cheddar popcorn, mix it together. Oh my God. Well, anyways, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, that's what I how do you call it? That's the good. That's the positive I had about the movie. Sam Raimi. The fact that it took itself a little more serious with the topics that it was touching upon, it was good that it did that way. And just the tone, just the visuals and everything. Oh, and the fan casting. That was my opinion, a perfect choice. Amazing. Now comes the bad. and I'm positive, before stumbling on my video, I'm positive all you guys most likely have heard all this before. But this is my personal gripe. The fact that the Illuminati wasn't the Illuminati in the comics. I get it. Sometimes you just can't do it. I mean, you have people who were included in the Illuminati who had yet to be included, featured out in the movies. One of them being Namor. Although, with Comic-Con just passed this weekend and everything like that, they released trailers, and I'm positive you guys saw them already. But the new Black Panther trailer, they are introducing Namor and Atlantis and the Atlanteans and everything. And I actually really enjoy what they did here. Like, for me, I'm a fan of making sure that you're casting the people to accurately represent what the character is. And as long as you're making castings and or changes that just make sense, instead of being blatant obvious that you're just catering to a group of people, or just, you know, how do you call it, trying to send a message or being an agenda, it's fine to take liberties. It's fine to make changes here and there. And one of the things that just makes sense is Namor the Submariner and how they slightly tweak this guy. Okay? Instead of just being like, oh, we're an Atlantean, everything's sea theme, yada yada, you know? They basically made Namor Mayan. Know how incredible that is? And the style, the artwork, everything about the Mayans makes sense for Atlantis. It does. If you look at the history of the Mayans or any really Mesoamericans and everything like that, you see the style, the architecture, the way things were formed, the just everything, organization. It makes sense that a civilization that has been lost to the wild, lost to the jungle, where the stonework, the architecture just is overtaken by vegetation, can also have a possibility that they had other civilization elsewhere that was overtaken by the ocean. And it makes sense that if you, like in real life, if someone were to be like, we found a new Mayan ruins, new form of where civilization would have thrived, but it's now underwater. If that happened in real life, people would believe it because it's a possible reality. And the fact that they incorporated it into the MCU, and we're all like, but civilization still thrived, and civilization still managed to find a way to live even underwater. It's like, oh my God, they're keeping it alive. They changed Namor to be more modern, but be more Mesoamerican Mayan style. With his sandals, with his wings on his ankles and everything. I don't know if the wings are attached to his footwear or if they're still attached to his ankles directly. With his chest pieces. The fact that I see that in the trailer they incorporated some sea themed along with Mayan architecture. They still are acknowledging that the Mayan gods are a thing. And I just hope that they actually use the Mayan gods' names and not just mishmash Mayan and Aztec, because that's just annoying. It's like, if you're going to go one direction, go that direction. Don't just be like, well, we need to include other stuff. Or it could also be a result of people just being lazy. Like, this is the name people recognize more. It's just like, no. That's an insult, you know? But yeah. Well, anyways, so yeah, it's that stuff. I'm fine. It's fine in my book, at least, because Namor is an Atlantean. You're not gonna go and find an Atlantean in real life to play an Atlantean in a movie, but you're gonna try and tweak it, and the way they're tweaking it is just making sense, and it's amazing. Another thing. She-Hulk was not going to watch it because the MCU just absolutely butchered the Hulk, and I hate it. And then I feel like they're just shoehorning She-Hulk in because, like, hey, you know, woman. Anyway, even though she was great in the comics, I understand that. But I am going to watch it now solely because the Daredevil's coming out. One, they announced Daredevil's coming back. But two, they teased them at the end of the trailer. and back in his original yellow suit from the comics. It's, oh my god, it's gonna be great. So I'm excited for that. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So anyways, back to the Illuminati. The Illuminati had Namor, it had Doctor Strange, it had Iron Man, it had Black Panther, it had Mr. Fantastic, it had Black Bolt, and who else did it have? Xavier. You can't do Black Panther anymore because unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman passed away back in 2020, I believe. Unfortunate, but that's just a reality. You could have tried to do Doctor Strange, but the fact that your Doctor Strange was killed, it was like, 3. That Earth's Captain Marvel just looked awkward being there. 4, Captain Carter. Look, even Captain America wasn't an original member of the Illuminati in the 616 universe in the comics. Why is Captain Carter there? She is by far not the most intelligent. Neither was Steve Rogers. She is by far not the most capable. Neither was Steve Rogers. Yeah, a sense of patriotism, and some could argue leadership. But I mean, leadership, you're still you're going against Iron Man. Leadership, you're still going against a king. And it's like, there's no reason for her to have been there except fan service from the What If series. That's it. So, and it's also not really What If anymore. If they made it actually canon for a different Earth, it's just multiverse stories, I guess you could say. Well, those two, it was just, what? Then you have Mordo in there. I guess he was just supposed to be Doctor Strange's replacement for that Earth. But they had Xavier and Mr. Fantastic, which was perfect and amazing. And here's the thing that annoys, and Black Bolt. It's just like, I want to know if that's the Black Bolt from what I heard, the horrible TV show. I haven't even dared watch one episode because I've heard it got slammed, like bad. So it's just the way they did Black Bolt in the movie looked beautiful. I love the way he looked. Yeah, like truly, I really, really did. The thing is that the bad part is not only just how they didn't put all the great characters in the Illuminati, understandably though, it was the whole fact that when Scarlet Witch got in there, again, spoilers, when Scarlet Witch got in there and they're like, oh, we gotta defend, the two absolute powerhouses. Well, I guess you can't really call Mr. Fantastic powerhouse, but he was acting rash. I will admit, being there in the front lines. It's like, bro, you can stretch, I get it, but you're going against a known witch. You should probably not really, Well, anyways, Black Bolt is there. And everybody knows that Black Bolt, just a whisper can kill people. Just a single whisper. And it doesn't even have to be a loud whisper. It could just be a super quiet one. Well, all of a sudden, she takes away his mouth. And what is his reaction? Understandably, he freaks out, but he decides it's a smart idea to speak. The Black Bolt isn't an idiot. Honestly speaking, I don't think Black Bolt... Oh, no. I know Black Bolt wouldn't have done that. He's not dumb. Why would he try and speak with no mouth? It's gonna go back into his body. So, of course, he blows his head out. But because he's wearing a mask, it gets retained inside of his mask, and he just concaves. Then you have Mr. Fantastic, who wasn't even given a chance. He was just turned into spaghetti. Okay, now they have two of the great characters gone. What happens? Now you have that Earth's Captain Marvel and Captain Carter. Why is Captain Carter surviving as long as she did? Yeah, she died. She got cut in half with her own shield. But how did she survive that long when Mr. Fantastic and Black Bolt couldn't? That was dumb. And well, anyways, in the end, they just like they were the ones who got lasted longer, but Captain Marvel got crushed under your statue, and Captain Carter got sliced in half by her shield. There you go. And then, as I explained earlier, Xavier was killed inside of her head. That was terrible. Truly, that was. Because it was just like she just murked the entire Illuminati. Well, at least that Earth's Illuminati. Well, minus Mordo, but, you know, Doctor Strange took care of that, really. And why? You know, that's a sad excuse of the Illuminati. People were so excited. I can't imagine, because I was one of those people. People were so excited and we're speculating and having theories that single blur with silver as their body in their body area from the trailer was gonna be what's his name? Brad Pitt's or was it Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise? I think it was Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise Iron Man, you know, the Endosim armor Iron Man, which, by the way, if you haven't seen the Endosim armor in the comics, do yourself a favor, read those comics, or at least just Google how the Endosim is. It's iconic. Death Battle did a battle between Iron Man and Lex Luthor, and it was good. So yeah. And people were just excited. I was excited too. And then they gave us Captain Marvel. And it's like that. I don't want to see that. No one wanted to see that. They wanted Iron Man. They wanted Tom Cruise's Iron Man. I wanted Tom Cruise's Iron Man. I wanted to see the Endosim armor. But yeah, that's what happened. Well, 1 second. Drinking some liquid death. Excuse me. Still got a stuffy nose, kind of. Well, anyways, you know, I feel like I need to get punched in the nose and just start bleeding to like really just unstuff my nose. That's the only way. Really, that's really the only way. So there you go. They ruined the Illuminati, and they ruined the best characters in the Illuminati. They were cannon fodder. That was it. Not even cannon fodder. They didn't even fight. They were just dummies. it was dumb. I don't have a voice. I can sing metal, but not like that. Well, anyways, so they had that. And here is the absolute thing that annoys me. So let me give you some context. I, for one, am a firm believer that if you have stereotypes on TV and or movies or commercials, it shouldn't be taken seriously. Why? Because those in that position who are playing out the stereotypes or reaffirming the stereotypes and everything are willingly doing so. And are you going to say that they're wrong for doing that? It's a job. Acting is acting. You hear the way I talk. Sometimes I say fool, sometimes I say dog and everything like that. Maybe sometimes an accent will kick in. That's just me. But for the most part, what do? I speak English. I speak as... Here I am, like choking up on my words right now. I speak English the best that I can. For it doesn't matter where part in the United States or where part in Europe or anywhere in the world that speak English or anything like that. If you're from there and you listen to me, you understand what I am telling you. That's how we speak English. But if I need to kick in an accent for whatever reason to relate to somebody or have somebody feel comfortable with me, or just to make a voice, I can do it. Like, come on. Like for me, for my mom, I copied my mom the way she spoke English for years growing up and everything. And people are like, oh, that's disrespectful to your mother. And I'm like, no, I do it in front of my mom and she laughs about it. She understands how it is. My mom spoke Spanish her entire life growing up. It wasn't until she came to the United States where she had to learn English back in like the late 80s and everything. But at this point in her life, she will speak English despite having an accent, but you could 100% understand her without a single struggle. And I do that. I can go like here and I'm telling you my mom, and they should be like, Armando, listen, who taught you to say those bad words? Even though the word was just idiot, you know. This really did happen. Listen, Armando, you need to understand what respect is. You can no longer say words like that. And that's how she speaks. You were able to understand, but she just speaks it with an accent. That's it. But you're able to hear her perfectly. But here I am speaking proper English. I can speak Spanish, and my Spanish is still perfectly understandable. It's like the only accent I really have is because I'm trying to learn Quiché and everything like that, Mayan language and everything. All I can say is Hacha Sakarikla Utswashla and Utsmaltiosh and everything like that. But that's it. It's your basic words. And I'm sure anybody who listens here who speaks Quiché from like their birth will absolutely say I butchered those words, but I'm trying. But it's just like, in the end of the day, people choose how they want to sound. People choose what role they want to do because they're capable of fulfilling those roles. And they understand that if they want to grow in that specific line of work, they need to take as much work as they can. Look at Hector. Who's Hector? That Mexican who I found out was actually Italian. That's who plays every cholo from every movie ever. Like, seriously, look up his resume. He plays Hector in every... I'll try and post up a picture of him. But yeah, he plays Hector in every movie he ever... or every show, whatever, he's ever in. So it's just like, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, that's what it is. So it's just like, he plays that role because that's the role he can play. And guess what? This dude willingly accepts those roles. It's just like, same thing with... what's his name? Carlos Peña and everything. Hear me out. Carlos Peña did a great job in taking roles that don't fit the stereotype. Not saying that's doing roles that fit the stereotype is bad. No. But he did a great job not really doing those. How? Well, before everybody knew him as, you know, Paul Rudd's friend in Ant-Man and everything, like the dude who got the van and like is incredible at telling stories. He played Jake Gyllenhaal's partner in the End of Watch. If you haven't watched End of Watch, please watch it. My lady isn't even into those type of movies, but when I had her watch it with me, she absolutely loved it. She loved the movie. End of Watch. Watch it. He plays that. I believe he played a doctor too. He played someone who's bettering his life for his son. This man plays roles where he is taking on a position of authority, a professional setting, etc., 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 and he does a great job. He can speak English perfectly without an accent, well, with an American accent, but he can speak it properly. You hear him in his roles, he can do it. But that accent he uses for Ant-Man for the Marvel movies, that's acting. And he's still doing those roles because it's a choice. Oh, it's a stereotype. So, it's a job, you know? And he wants to do it, and he chose to do it. So anyways, the reason I'm saying all this is because sometimes it's just... sometimes it's not good for it to feel forced, if you know what I mean. It's like, I hate it when things absolutely shouldn't be that way, where an accent is evolved or stereotypical words are just shoehorned into something. How? There's this game called Green Hell. I think I did it on talked about it on my second episode ever in this channel. Green Hell is a survival game that you can play on your Xbox, PlayStation, but it's mainly meant for the PC. Think about The Forest, except not censored in, how do you call it, the horror aspect, but more challenging in the survival aspect. Anyways, if you play the story mode, you're a man who's going out with a Latina. And you're going out with a Latina, and you can hear that she's speaking perfect English. She's speaking proper English. But then she says that like, ay carajo, ay Dios, Dios mío, híjole, and everything like that. And it's just like, why do you need to say that? And you can tell the voice actress, it just sounds forced. It's like, why can't you ever be a character that happens to be Latin, you know? That just like that. So it's just like, it sounds forced. What do you call it? Mayans MC. I love Mayans MC. And I get it. They're supposed to be in the fictional city of Santo Padre, which is border with Mexico. I totally understand that. And I get it. Living here in San Diego, I'm literally living the setting that they're living at. I get it that there's locations that are predominantly Hispanic, Latino, Latina, and everything like that. And you have people who have immigrated from Mexico to that location and speak more Spanish than English. And if they speak English, they speak it with an accent. I totally understand that. But guess what else there is here in real life Santo Padre, which is San Diego, or if you want to go a little more specific, National City, Chula Vista, San Isidro, and everything like that. There are people who grew up in those areas that still speak proper English. And there are people who grew up in those areas that speak proper English and can barely speak any Spanish despite living in a Spanish-speaking household. So, Mayans MC, you can see that every show tries to find their stride and everything. But Mayans MC did that whole thing where, how do you call it? They casted two guys, Chady Prado, I think his name is, and I forgot the guy who plays his brother. They both speak Spanish with a thick accent. Like if it was so thick, it'd be like 3 C's thick. And they say little words here and there that are just forced. Like the first thing the brother says when his other brother comes out from his dad, butcher saw, like, "Estás bien, carnal?" or "Everything good, carnal?" And it's just like, why? Because he says it, everything good, carnal, and everything is like, bro, you know? And then like when their truck gets tipped over and they see it because they're getting robbed, one of them goes, "Madre de Dios," and everything. And it's just like, he says it with thinking Madre de Dios, and it's why? just speak English. Be like, Jesus Christ, just say that, you know? It's like, we get it, you're Hispanic, you're Latino, and everything like that, but we don't need to be reminded about it all the time. Take for instance, Palo, the MC out of TJ and everything like that. This fool speaks English, but he also speaks Spanish. And when he has scenes where he's just doing pure Spanish speaking, it sounds natural. Because this man, it makes sense for him. He's based out of Mexico, Tijuana, Mexico, and everything like that. So it's just like, it makes sense for him. It's natural. It flows. It's not forced. But then you have people who, despite being Hispanic, Mexican, and everything like that, they don't really know how to speak Spanish. And you're making them try and speak Spanish when they don't need to, because they're talking to another person who also speaks perfect English. It's like, stop, you know. And the whole reason I'm saying this, I'm sorry I keep sidetracking, it's because in the MCU, oh my god, America Chavez, everybody, remember that Twitter guy who was like, finally we get our first Hispanic Latina superhero? And it's like, what's her name from the Eternals? It's like, she's Latina. Oh, but she's not from the Earth. She's an alien species. Just the actress happens to be Latina. And it's just like, yeah, America Chavez isn't from Earth either. She's not human. She's an alien from a different planet, which is funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you shouldn't call people crossing the border illegal aliens and everything. It's just like, so they made the one based, like, that's supposed to be based off, you know, Latin culture. They made her into a little alien in the comics, bro. It's funny. You gotta find the humor in it. I can make fun of it, laugh with me, you know. Stop taking everything too seriously. It's getting real right now. They're jokes. Laugh at jokes. Life will be easier this way. Well, anyways, so it's like she's an alien too. She's not from Earth. I mean, I'm pretty sure that fool either deleted his tweet or just straight up just put restrictions on who can reply back to him. It's like that thing Twitter does, like, oh, you can't reply to him unless he replies to you first. Yeah, you know, who is he gonna reply to? But like, yeah. So it's just like, I'll find a screenshot of that tweet and I'll post it up too. It's hilarious. Well, what do you call it? Yeah. So there's I get it. She's supposed to speak Spanish. Her alien race also speaks what our human race considers to be the Spanish language. So she's here from Earth, except they kind of changed her powers. I don't know. I never read comics with America Chavez. It was just because, like, look, sidebar. Whenever new characters are introduced, and they're not introduced as a new character that are mysterious, like perfect example, Red Hulk. The way they introduced Red Hulk was he popped out of nowhere in the comics. He killed the Abomination by shooting him with a firearm specifically meant to be for the Hulk to use, and nobody knew who it was, and they thought it was Bruce Banner's Hulk. In reality, it wasn't. It was something called the Red Hulk, and nobody knew who the Red Hulk was. And it lasted, like, what, 3 years in real life? 3 years until they finally revealed that the Red Hulk had been General Ross this entire time. 3 years it took. And they didn't go like, oh, you know, it could be a gender queer Latina in a wheelchair, you know? They didn't market it that. They were just like, who's this character? Why are they doing what they do? What can they do? Can we explain their abilities, who they are as a being, you know? They didn't focus on anything else. But this is how comic characters are just introduced now. It'd be nice to have a character who just so happened to be a specific race, gender, religion, whatever. Just so happened to be that, instead of using those things to mainly market that character. Because once you start making that character only unique because how they look like, or just what race they are, gender, or political or religious views, you start making that character very uninteresting. Let me speak again. Let me redo this. No one is interested in what this character can do, because what we're being fed is who this character is, or what this character is, and that's it. And it's just like, no, don't make me like this character because I'm supposed to like who they are, gender wise or race wise. Make me like this character because this character is a well written character. This character has a specific story arc that's incredible, that's appealing, you know? It's just, that's what it is. Like, for example, Batwoman in the DC Universe. I remember how they did Batwoman in the comics and how they did it in Batwoman animated movie. They focus at the fact that this woman is not Batman. This woman has not been trained under Batman. She just took the mantle of Batwoman to go and fight crime. And she was a kick-ass crime fighter. She was incredible. I was a fan of her. And then just side note, when they finally gave us a glimpse as to who she was behind the mask, they introduced the fact that she was lesbian, but they didn't focus her character on that. They focused her character on who she is as a person and the badassery she is when she's Batwoman. But then later on, when they decided to do the live action version and everything, it was like, oh my gosh, she's a woman and a lesbian. We're gonna make millions. And then the next thing you know, the show bombs because they're not focused on the character. They're focused on what makes their character appealing, or what's supposed to make the character appealing to us in this day and age. And that is why part of the reason why things fell. And it comes with America Chavez for the fact that She is an alien. Okay? A literal alien. She is not from Earth. Just because she speaks Spanish doesn't mean that she speaks the Spanish that is spoken to in Earth. What do I mean by that? I speak Spanish, but I'm Guatemalan and Mayan. My friends speak Spanish, and they're Salvadorian and Mexican. I have other friends that speak Spanish, but their family is from Spain, you know? And guess what? Despite us all understanding each other, we speak Spanish differently here and there. How so? Because every form of Spanish from different areas of the world, even if it's on the same continent, has its own terms in slang. Do you guys know that? That applies to every language. Why do you think American Spanish is different from American English is different from the English in the UK? Even here in the United States, why do you think West Coast English is different from East Coast English, or Northern English different from Southern English? You know, it's different. It's from different areas, different dialects, different slang words. And that's how it is in Spanish. And one of the things for Mexicans when they speak Spanish is they use a slang term that it's way. Mira, way, no mames, way, puchica, way, que onda, way, this and that. You know, it's just a slang word. That's what it is. And if you live in Southern Cali, you're going to hear that way too many times. And trust me, I wanted to claw my ears off. Just absolutely make myself deaf. You know, Team Mexico. My boy's going to understand that. Well, anyways. So yeah, that's a whole thing. America Chavez had a scene where she's eating and she talks to Doctor Strange in Spanish. And there happens to be another Latina there? I forgot. I gotta rewatch that scene. And she talks to him in Spanish. He's like, what? And then she goes, este güey no entiende español? And then it's just like, one, how do you expect somebody who clearly has been speaking English this whole time, that you have no idea who speaks a different language, expect them to automatically know Spanish, you know? And two, why'd you say way? Aren't you an alien from a different world? It's, how do you have that slang term? Maybe they speak Spanish like that up there too. True, you're right. Or I'm right, because I'm only talking to myself right now. But it's just like, why? You know that's not the case. You know that's not the reason. You know that the only reason they say way in the movie is because way is a commonly used slang term for Mexicans, and Mexicans are literally everywhere in the States. So it's just like, you know that's the reason they put it in there. I know that's the reason put it in there. If they just admit it, then, you know, cool. Own up to it. But it was cringy. It was so cringy. And like, este güey no habla español, este güey. And it's like, Look, I said I was going to talk Multiverse of Madness because I have other topics to talk to you about real quick. But here I am almost 59 minutes later. Straight up talking about it. Oh, side note. Oh, okay, cool. I ordered a new wireless Xbox One controller because my other one's auxiliary port sucks. So even though my headset is perfectly fine, the wiggly of the auxiliary port just makes it impossible to play comfortably because it'll just end up cutting my mic at the worst times. And it's just when you're playing video games that are heavy in communication with your teammates, it's a liability. But yeah. Well, anyways, it says it's that 10 stops away, so let me track it. Well, anyways, so yeah. So I know there's more problems I have with the Multiverse of Madness, but honestly, in fact, I'm not gonna say it's a bad movie because it's not. Oh, it's like 5 stops away. It's not a bad movie. I will watch it again. This time, like really focusing on it because I know there's some stuff that I didn't catch. But other than that, I gotta tell you, it's cringe. Some of the parts are cringe, and some of the parts are disappointing. But with everything, there's a silver lining. And what is that silver lining? They brought Bruce Campbell into the movie. Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell appeared in all 3 of the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. Bruce Campbell also appeared in all of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man video game movie tie-ins. Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell is just incredible. He's iconic, and I think he made a comeback in one of the Amazing Spider-Man games. They brought him back. I don't know how Bruce Campbell is just so closely affiliated to Spider-Man specifically, but now Marvel, I need to find out, but it's always great seeing him. You know that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he like sits up from his chair and he's pointing at the TV with a cigarette in his hand and a beer also, or drink? Yeah, that's what I did as soon as I saw Bruce Campbell pop up on TV. I was like, oh my God, it's Bruce Campbell. And it's just like, oh man, it's amazing. That was really a huge highlight of the movie. But yeah, Multiverse of Madness. Haven't watched it? Watch it. Or if you have, watch it again. Why not? You know, have Disney Plus. It's free on there. So yeah. What was the other topics I was going to talk about? It's on my phone. That was it. I mean, like, if there's other stuff. Oh no, I keep switching. I'm playing on Bluetooth right now. If there's other things I'm going to talk about the movie, I'm gonna just, how do you call it, bring it up in another video, probably in the next one. Well, anyways, here's a heavy topic. So this is going to be a kind of like light topic and a heavy topic, since light being that we spoke about Marvel and the Multiverse of Madness, but heavy because now we're going to talk about something that happened in real life. So San Jose yesterday, there's headlines happening in San Jose news right now, and it's probably going to reach in different areas of the states. So basically what happened was, in San Jose there was 2 people, I think boyfriend, girlfriend. They went to a location at night and they decided to start robbing the place. And while she was grabbing stuff, he was threatening people to hurt them and everything. She made up with, grabbed some stuff and dipped. He grabbed some stuff and dipped. Police were called. Police were given the description. Police started hunting. They found them. Well, they found him. And he started running. Just running. Why was he running? Because he didn't want to get caught. He committed a crime. And they know he committed a crime. And he's going to run because he doesn't want to get arrested. He doesn't want to go to jail and or prison. So he runs and runs and runs. The police have tools to absolutely help them or aid them in catching criminals. Also aid them in ending a threat. Here's the thing that's a toss-up in the air. It's not your usual firearms or tasers or anything like that. What I'm talking about is they have a tool that is very, very delicate, but at the same time very, very useful. That tool being police K9's. There's been a huge argument, and it's only been fired up as of late, and it's been reignited again because of last night. So people are saying in one end that K9's have been proven to be a very, very useful tool in catching criminals and putting to the end of threats, putting the end to standoffs and everything. On the other end, there's been arguments that K9's, one, only breed aggressive, dangerous dogs that after retirement can no longer be adopted out to a regular home, and 2, prove to be very dangerous to the life of the person they're sicked after. I find a little bit of truth in both sides. Well, a lot of the truth in the first one more than the second one. But at the same time, it's just there's should be another level of thought and critical thinking. So basically what it is they found the guy. And he ran. So they gave chase. They started hunting him down. This was night, by the way, in a very poorly lit area of San Jose. And they had to go through yards, backyards, and everything, trying to find this dude who has robbed a place, who has threatened the safety of everybody in there. They don't know if he's armed or not. They don't. So they're chasing him. And finally they catch him. But he's not giving up. He's not following their orders. He's not doing anything. So how are they going to go into a tight spot and subdue a man that they don't know is armed? One, psychologically screw with him by letting him know that there's a dog here that's going to just absolutely tear him apart because it's a dog. It can't be reasoned with by anybody who doesn't know. But two, the dog is smaller, is faster, more agile. So it's capable of doing a lot more things than a fully uniformed, fully geared up officer is capable of doing. So the K9 handler takes lead, finds the guy, sixes his K9 on him. The K9s are trained to go for the legs, go for the arms and everything. This K9 ran up to the guy and clamped down on his throat. It clamped down on his throat for a full minute before it let go. This guy suffered serious injuries. He's not dead the last time I read, but if there's an update, I'll update. But they left him with serious injuries. And that came to the whole argument again. Are K9s ethical? Are police K9s absolutely necessary and required and everything? The argument goes, look at this. They sent their K9 out. Their K9 clamped down on somebody's throat for a full minute before it let go, and now this person can possibly die, or if he hasn't died as of yet. And it's just like, well, he shouldn't have been breaking the law to warrant the dog being chased further than to released on him. And other people come back with like, so just because he was running, he deserves to lose his life. And it's just like, you can keep going back and forth with this argument. What I say is this: everything runs the risk of something negative happening. When it comes down to professional fighting, MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, yada yada, there's always a risk of one or both of the people participating to sustain critical injuries. This has happened in the past, whether it was cheating or it was just somebody who just absolutely could not physically take punishment anymore. They died and everything, or committed suicide due to like career-ending injuries, or being paralyzed, whatever. But are people advocating for these type of sports to stop? Is boxing ethical? This is what people like doing, and as long as they could do it without hurting anybody innocent and everything like that, nobody has a problem with it. When it comes down to driving, are cars ethical? No one wants to ban cars because they're useful for getting you from point A to B, but people have also used cars to run people over purposely. You can go up to any video on YouTube, just type in someone running another person over with their car, and you'll see that happens. It's just like, it's just, anything carries risk, but it's not until it reaches anything that's remotely related to law enforcement when people really start, being like, "Well, is this really necessary?" If you look up K9 takedowns on YouTube or anywhere else, you're gonna see that more often than not, K9's being deployed on somebody who had just killed somebody who's wanted for murder, multiple felonies, somebody who's running away, who deserves to be arrested and everything like that. The K9 has aided in taking that person down successfully, that person giving up, being arrested and booked and everything. You're going to see that. You're going to see more of those videos than anything else. You're going to read more of those articles than anything else. Not saying that K9s can't seriously hurt somebody, but it's like, a dog is a useful tool. When it comes down to for me personally, well, the person doesn't deserve to die, this and that. And I'm like, I understand if that person was robbing a place, then running, and then next thing you know, the dog clamped down on his throat for a minute. It's like, yeah, did that person really break the law enough to, warrant almost dying by the jaws of a K9? Well, you got to remember, this guy was threatening everybody in the store that he was gonna hurt them, and they believed it. They absolutely believed it and feared for their safety, or more likely case, feared for their lives. Because if someone comes up to you and just goes like, I'm gonna end you, I swear to God, I'm gonna make sure that you never get up again, this is that, what do you think they're talking about? Granted, I don't know exact threats that he said or anything like that, or if he like brandished something to them, but it's still, you go up to anybody and just starts threatening them with bodily harm, they're more likely than not to believe that you are going to end their life. And that's just the reality of things, the reality of how things work. Well, my whole thing is, none of this would have happened if crimes weren't being committed, you know? It's like, that's just what it is. If somebody hadn't been stealing, they wouldn't have been wanted. If somebody hadn't been running away, they wouldn't have been chased. If somebody hadn't been running away after committing a serious crime where threats of bodily harm were made and now running with the intention of absolutely not cooperating, that somebody wouldn't have been bitten. And it's just, there's things that can be changed from both sides, but more often than not, how much do you want to bet if that guy had just been walking, minding his own business, or even went to the store and just used money to purchase what he wanted, that the cops would have been chasing him? Very likely that nothing would have happened to him. He would have just got what he wanted and then went home. Guess what? Now he's in the hospital. Hopefully he makes a speedy recovery, but he's still going to have to face the music. I don't want to get hurt, but if I run up to somebody and just start absolutely threatening that I'm going to beat them up, and that somebody either calls the cops on me and I get arrested, or that somebody knows how to defend themselves and just absolutely pops me in the jaw, I have nobody to blame but myself. All the consequences from there onward are mine, and it's my fault. And it's just like, it's, for me personally, K9's have been proven very useful. They're faster than the fastest humans. Their bite force is just absolutely devastating. And if you don't want to get bit by a K9 dog, don't give him reason to chase you with one. And it's just like that's my whole thing. That's my whole thing, to be honest. It's just, stop. There's been so many cases out in the world where police would have to make decisions that ultimately affected the person they were after negatively, and you have other people, I'm like, oh, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. It's just like, they didn't have to do that. You know? They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to commit crimes. They didn't have to hurt and or end someone's life. But they did. And now they need to be brought to justice, and they chose to fight. They chose to run. K9s are absolutely necessary in police work, trust me. And unless they find a way to make sure that they can make some robotic dog that can absolutely be remote controlled and thus making K9s not necessary, then go for it, you know? Like, that is an absolute plus. That is a win. Making sure that innocent dogs or dogs don't have to be put out there and everything like that, that'd be great. But for right now, that's what they are. And here's the thing. Dogs have had a long history of being used in combat, even before police. Legions, empires, everything have incorporated dogs as tools of war, weapons in combat. Like, the earliest I can think off the bat, the Roman Empire, they used to use Rottweilers during combat. India or Asia, they used to use elephants. It's using animals isn't new. It's been historical, but this time animals are used to take off criminals from the street. And it's just like, you know, trust me, if you put your shoes against anybody who either has hurting you seriously or someone you cared about, you're going to want the police to use everything they have in their possession to make sure that person gets taken down. And that was just my whole ordeal and everything like that. My whole thing. Just the guy in San Jose, the one who committed crime, hopefully he does recover real soon. But, he still needs to face the music for everything like that. Well, anyways, I ended up on that note. It just got a little bit too serious. Like I told you before, this is a channel where I discuss everything. Like you just saw it now, comics and now real life situations. But it's just like, it's good to have two sides to every story. It's good to really look at everything at a broad spectrum and everything like that with a huge point of view. Because if you just give yourself blinders, just like horses wear, and just focus on what you want to focus on, you're never going to see other perspectives, other points of view. And that's dangerous. And that's very limiting in people's lives. On top of that, if you don't hear what other people have to say or anything like that, you're just living in an echo chamber. Shows that you're not actually willing to learn or see a new perspective. It just shows that you just want people to tell you what you want them to tell you. So yeah, I'm not perfect. Anybody has a different perspective or different mindset and everything, please just let me know. I'm here. I work a lot, but still I read my stuff at work too. All right, guys, that was about it. Hope you guys have a great shift or relaxing night, rest of your day at home. My window's been open this entire time. I forgot to tell you guys. So if you hear more noises than usual outside, that's what it is. It's 4:54 right now. All right. I'm just gonna go begin editing this and everything like that, but I'm gonna go to Muay Thai tonight. I love fighting. There's these old school gloves I really want to get. Correction, like if you go to old school boxing videos or photos or anything like that, and you look at the gloves from like the late 1800s to the early 1940s, 50s or something like that, it's those style gloves, and I really want them. That and the Assassin's Creed Valhalla ones. Well, anyways, again, thank you all for spending over an hour just hearing me rant and rave and everything like that. And I'll try and put out another episode as soon as I can. I'm sorry if it takes me longer, but that's just how it is right now. All right, everybody. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. See ya.